Hey everybody, this is the Facebook Ads with a Twang podcast, and I'm your host, Ben Blackman. Today, we're talking about why everybody else's Facebook ads work except yours. Here comes episode 38. Facebook Ads with a Twang is dedicated to taking the often overcomplicated process of creating simple, successful Facebook ads, breaking them down step by step in less than 10 minutes at a time. Let's get started. Okay, we're on episode 38, and today we're talking about why everybody else's Facebook ads seem to be working, but yours don't. Okay, and the first thing I want to say about all this, and just so you know and that I'm clear, is there are no insider secrets. There aren't any. Okay, there's not the gurus out there. They don't know anymore. I mean, they really don't. I mean, they can make slight tweaks, maybe. And I do too, but the overall process of doing ads is very systematic and very deliberate. And I just don't want you out there thinking that they somehow know a whole bunch more than you. So one of the things you want to consider is when you're looking at other people's ads, or if you think that other people's ads are working and yours aren't, is how are you comparing that? I mean, are you actually looking at their numbers, or are you just going by what they said? And so the reason that I kind of mention that is because often when I look into campaigns where results are given and when I get an opportunity to actually examine them, sometimes the results aren't exactly what people said they were. And I don't mean they're holding anything back. I just mean that maybe they don't realize that, it might have been good to say, well, I did a $40,000 launch and I only spent, $200 on my Facebook ads, but they left out the fact that they had a 20,000 person email list, right? And I'm not saying they left it out on purpose. I'm just saying that, it makes it seem like they got it all from their ads. So you have to be really careful when you're comparing your ads versus somebody else's, especially if they're not in the same market or something like that, because less than 20% of ads are actually successful right out of the gate. They just aren't. And the ones that are usually are super successful. Okay. But the ones that aren't only need slight tweaks to make them work for the most part. Now, like I said, the people, these super huge guru-ish types, I've looked at a lot of those type people's ads accounts and consulted on them at various times. And when I look at them versus, the typical ads account, usually there's not a huge difference there, right? The difference usually comes down to budget. Most people can't budget as much as they can, or aren't willing to budget as much as they can to try to figure it out. So, and the other thing that you want to consider is maybe those ads really aren't successful. Again, how do you know that they are? Who told you that they are? Or are you just thinking that they are? Mindset is huge, and I've talked about it a couple of episodes ago, but mindset for Facebook ads is huge if you want to be successful doing them, because there's going to be ups and downs, and you have to be prepared for those both ways. So the first thing you want to do when you're thinking about your Facebook ads is you want to make sure that you have the right message for the right market. I talk about that all the time, but I'm going to keep repeating it because that is crucial before you ever start your ads. Do you have a compelling offer? Because if you don't, it doesn't matter, how awesome your ad is. If your offer stinks, or if you have something out there that people don't want, then it doesn't really matter. You have to define what your goal is for your ad, and that's a key. That's how you know whether or not it's successful. I mean, what does a successful ad look like in terms of metrics? What's your number there? I mean, are you looking for conversions? Are you looking for people to register for your webinar? Opt-ins, sales? I mean, what are you looking for? Maybe it's clicks, just people clicking through to your website, or engagement, right? You want some kind of engagement on your ads, video views, likes, whatever it is. But you have to understand what that goal is, and then, what you're paying for in terms of results, and if those are workable numbers. So an example, if you got 100 registrations for your webinar and you got them for $1 a piece, you spent $100. And if you convert 4% of those people off the webinar, that'd be 4 people, into a sale, and the sale of what you were selling was $100 a piece, then you made $400, but you spent $100 in ad costs. That's a 4-to-1 return on investment, minus out any other expenses that went into it. For example, email service provider, webinar service, whatever it is. So was that 4-to-1 return, was that good enough? Does that mean it was successful? Or does that mean, you know what, that wasn't successful? I really needed to get a 10 times return. So you have to define those numbers and make sure that the results, the numbers that you get are workable. And then the next thing I just kind of wanted to point out is that you need to examine each step of your ad process and to find out what's not going right for your Facebook ads or why you think your Facebook ads may not be working. Is it the ad copy, image, video? What is it? Is it the targeting? You need to look at those things and see if they're on point. You can test up some new ad copy. You could test shorter, longer. You could go from image to video. There's lots of things that you can do. But then you want to look at your targeting. Do you have it narrow? I was just looking at somebody's account and they were targeting about 40 million people. Well, that's just too big. In almost every market, that is too big. Okay, you cannot get in front of enough of the people who are ready, willing, and able to buy when you're targeting 40 million people. Now, I know people are going to say, yeah, but mine's for everybody. What I'm selling is for everybody. Yeah, it's not. If it is for everybody, you're going to have a tough time because you're competing against, Target, Walmart, and or whatever. You're competing against some really big name ad budgets, and that's a hard thing to do. So you want to narrow that down. Your audience size at most 2 million, 2.5. That's probably about your max right there. But the next thing you want to look at is it your landing page or your offer. So wherever you're sending the traffic to, is maybe that's not connecting with them. Where is the drop off? That's how you know if your ads are working or not. The ad might be working fine. Okay, it may just be that you have a crappy landing page. That happens all the time. You got to know if it actually is your ad. And it could be your follow-up sequence. Maybe you're in a market where you're just not going to get you're going to have to actually go what we call negative on your ads up front, meaning you're going to lose money on the ads up front, but they buy a higher ticket item, on average, but it takes them, 3 months to do that. And you have a really robust follow-up sequence of emails. Maybe that's how it works. So those are just some things to think about. And I don't want you to set yourself up for failure when it comes to your Facebook ads. So here's some ways to not do that, okay? You don't want to run ads without a defined result. I think I've covered that enough. You also don't want to try a one and done ad. That's what most people do. They put out an ad and they didn't get the response, so they say Facebook ads don't work. Well, we used to do that in direct mail a lot. Like people would send out postcards and they wouldn't get a response, or they'd get very little response and they say, oh, that doesn't work. All right. Even knowing that it takes multiple times to get in front of people to make an ad work. Right. Even though most people will tell you have to get in front of them, between 5 to 7 times, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer, before people will actually buy from you. So if you're trying to do it like just a shotgun approach, that's probably not the best way to do it. Another thing you definitely want to stay away from is trying to change part or all of the process without evaluating what the issue is. So in other words, if you run an ad campaign and you say, oh, I didn't get any sales, I'm going to change the ad. Make sure it's the ad that was the part that needs to be changed. Or make sure it's the landing page that was part that need to be changed. Whatever it is. Because odds are some of the process is working, or as we call a funnel, some of it's working. You want to keep that part. You just want to tweak the parts that aren't. Because the grass is definitely not greener. I promise you that. So think about these things when you're talking about setting up yourself up for success regarding Facebook ads. Have the right message for the right market. That is imperative. If you don't, all bets are off. All right. Validate what you're selling. Now, the odds are pretty good. Whatever it is you're selling, there's going to be people out there who would be willing to buy it. Question is can you get in front of them on Facebook? So can you target them on Facebook with a reasonable degree of certainty to get in front of them? You also need to have a reasonable ad spend to test with. If you're coming at ads and you're going to try to throw $50 or $100 at it, it may take a long time for you to figure out what's working and what's not. It may just not be enough money to get in front of enough people. And then the last thing on this is you really want to define what successful ads look like in terms of numbers, your metrics. What makes it successful? Define that first. All right, I'm gonna go, but before I do, I'm gonna put in the show notes. Let's see, 5 podcasts that you can listen to that I made regarding budget tracking, ad objectives, Facebook placements, and really how to create simple, successful Facebook ads. You'll find that in the show notes. If that doesn't work, go ahead and head on over to my closed Facebook group, Funnel Strategies for Facebook, and join up there. And you're welcome to ask me any questions there. I hope this was helpful, and please leave me some feedback. Subscribe. It would really be helpful to me, and I hope to talk to you guys. Actually, I will. I'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks.